Welcome to the DIY Writer Show with the mild-mannered, slightly heroic host, Jeff Bacon.
Hello and welcome to the DIY Writer Podcast. This is Jeff Bacon. Today I have a wonderful horror writer, a book reviewer. She reads an incredible amount of books every day, or during the year. She also has a new novella coming out, or just came out, The Bell Chime. And it's available on Amazon. I'd like to introduce you with Mona Kabbani. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So, tell us about your book.
Cool. So The Bell Chime, it's a novella, which means that it's under 50,000 words. So it's a short, little psychological trip. It's basically about a girl who finds a missing poster of herself in her apartment building. And the poster is just a gruesome visual of herself that she's never seen before because something demonic could not exist in this reality. And it's about her kind of discovering where it came from, what it means, and just deciding it's a trip in you just realizing what's reality and what isn't along with her. So it's just psychological fun.
Oh, are you kind of into the psychological thriller type stuff? Is that what you like?
Yeah, I love horror. My type of horror is a bit more of a psychological, like I like messing with people's minds and whatnot with my horror. So there's like gruesome imagery, which is like the horror-esque part. And a lot of people could even say that like the psychological mind fuck basically is also horror as well. But it's a combination of both. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves a good mind fuck, especially when they're reading.
Exactly.
If you don't see it and you go, what the hell was that? And you have to go back and read the chapter because you didn't quite catch how to get there. I mean, that kind of makes it interesting, but you're kind of an expert in that. I mean, I first noticed you on Instagram because you seem to review like a book a day.
Yeah, I read a lot.
Yep.
It helps with the writing. So it's in part because I enjoy writing the reviews and interacting with people and talking about books. And then in part, it's good practice for writing itself to kind of like see how other people portray things and like their craft. And then you can like better learn and assimilate your own understandings into your own work. So
who's your favorite horror author?
Gosh.
Go to the one that just, oh yeah, I have to pick that up.
That's a good question. I have so many books. I don't ever really like harp on authors. I harp on like the book itself. Like I really like Chuck Palahniuk's writing. Fight Club's my favorite. I really love American Psycho. Like those are books that I'll read over and over again. Yeah. American Psycho is gruesome. Like nothing like the movie. I don't know if you've read compared to the movie, but it's like a different level there. I'm like literally looking at my books right now. I mean, Stephen King, right, is like the answer for the most part, but even him, like I only enjoy some of his books. I love his writing, but I don't love all of his books. So I don't know. I guess it's more so like specific stories than it is specific authors.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like Stephen King to a point, and then I get kind of, I don't know if I'd say I enjoy his writing as much as I used to. I mean, when I was a kid, it was like, that was every book. It was the bomb. Right. Thinner came out. I think I read that like 4 times. I mean, that was, oh my God, but Dean Koontz, I like Dean Koontz a lot.
I've only ever read Dean Koontz, like spy stories. Like I read, oh my gosh, The Corner, The Door, and something like that. I forget the name of it, but yeah.
I really didn't get into him until I was traveling, and somehow I got my hands on a few of his audiobooks. It's actually books on tape at the time.
Yeah. Paul Tremblay is another really good one. I like Paul Tremblay a lot. There's actually a lot of like indie writers that I've met and read their work that I love, like Spencer Hamilton. The Fear is like kind of a controversial book out right now. I don't know if you've seen it around, but
I haven't seen that one.
It's been circulating around Bookstagram a lot, but I like adore his writing. There's a lot of great works that are out there, but yeah, I mean, I don't harp on authors as much as I do like stories, because I feel like it's hard to find an author that's great through and through with everything. You're not gonna always love everything that they put out, but yeah.
No, absolutely not. So, just let's get back to your book a little bit. It's been out since September 2nd, huh?
Yes.
How's that been going for you?
It's been really, like, the reception for it's insane. I don't know. I guess because it was first time publishing, I really only advertised it on Instagram, because like, Instagram is my biggest platform. It's like basically my only platform. I met a lot of great people on there that I didn't expect so many people to actually go out and purchase it, because it feels more of just like these superficial relationships that you have with people, and which was fine for what it was. I still wanted to publish something.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, just like the amount of support and reception that came from it was extremely.
You know what I noticed about your Instagram versus a lot of people's is yours is kind of real. I mean, your posts are, I mean, hey, look at this book, and then you'll post a review, and then you've got your Goodreads account where I think I'm following you there too. But that's one of the things I like about like when you pop up a book and say, okay, this is James Patterson. I'm going to give him a 2-star because of this and this and this and this and this. And you really don't, it's not like 5 stars and I loved it. You actually have some, a good critique. And that's one of my.
Yeah. I like when I do my reviews, I don't, like on Instagram, I won't put the star rating, because I just feel like star ratings are more for my personal, like when I'm looking back, like for my Goodreads, I'll be like, oh, did I like this book? Okay, I gave it 2 stars. I know what that means to me. For my book reviews, I try to make it more like, okay, here are some like classic things that I know most people like, and then here are some things that are different about this book that you might not like. And I try to give more information than I do about my own opinion, so that way people can realize whether or not they want to purchase the book and read it as well, like whether it was something that would resonate with them. So I try not to be like, I think this was a wonderful book, like, oh, this was an awful book, blah, blah, blah. I'll be like, okay, this is what's happening in this book. This is what you're going to get. This is why it might be for you. If so, get it. So, yeah.
I know I've bought a couple of books that you've had out there that you've given a description. I think one of them you had a 3-star and one of them you did a 4-star on or something like that, or I mean, whatever it was. And what I thought was funny was I just like your description of it. It's like, well, these are the things I didn't like about it, and these are the things I did. That's one of my pet peeves on reviews, is when somebody like 1-stars it and says, oh, you need an editor. No, tell me about the story.
Yeah.
I mean, if there is an editor, tell me what page. If there's an editorial problem or something like that. I mean, give me some details versus, oh, I hated it. Oh, thanks, that's constructive.
Right.
You're like, here's a story, here's what I liked, here's what I didn't. And that's why I said from an author perspective, I'm like, ooh, she's cool.
Yeah, I will not, like, never shit on a book. I'll always be like, this is just what I think could have made it better. If that's something that doesn't bother you, like, okay, like for the grammar, so what you were saying with the editor stuff, I like, unless it's atrocious editing to the point where you're unable to read it, like I won't knock an author off for it. And I know that we're like indie authors out there, and it's kind of hard to like, if you don't have trade backing, it's very difficult. It takes a lot of read throughs, whatnot. Everyone's trying very hard to perfect their craft, and I totally get it. So like, I'll rarely harp on something for something that's ignorable. I'll critique like the story structure, other elements like that, characters and whatnot. I think it's a little unfair to judge based on something silly, or then you tell the readers like this is a problem, because there are some people like don't like grammar issues at all, and then I'll specify that, but I'll be like, if you can ignore it, this is a great story.
The thing that I always come back with when I'm talking to somebody about that is every book out there has a Rev 6, a Rev 7, or whatever. Even Stephen King, he misses some stuff, and all of a sudden there's another revision of this book or whatever, and you can find errors. Nobody's perfect. The indie authors, I mean, most of the guys I know, do proofreads, and then they do an editor, and then they do another editor, and then they, and they have reading groups, and sometimes just shit happens,
Yeah.
But
But I think, I mean, nothing's ever going to be perfect across all mediums. Like writing's an art, so there's painting, there's like drawing, other types of arts, and they're never going to be. You can't achieve perfection, and I feel like that's the charming flaw to the art, is that there are going to be imperfections, and that is what it is. Like for the Bell Chime, someone pointed out that peak was the incorrect spelling of it. It was like Peek it was Peek. It should have been Peek. I'm not bothered by it because it's like that. That's just like the charming flaw that's going to be in the book, and it is what it is, and it doesn't ruin the story. It's just happenstance.
how'd you put your book out? Did you format it yourself and put it out there and do your own book cover, or did you hire that done, or?
So I got extremely lucky meeting on Bookstagram some like very amazing people. Andy Broughton, who is my podcast partner, she is also a wonderful illustrator. She did the front cover of the book. She had read it and had this amazing idea for, the open face brain pulling out like a rose, whatnot. I simply love it. She did the handwork for it too, like the Bell Chime writing. That's her writing. All that's
really?
Like authentically her. Yeah, she wrote out the "Can you hear the bell?" She did an amazing job. Ooh, sorry, I dropped my computer. The back.
Oh my God, it ruined everything. Just kidding. It did.
The back of the cover was done by another friend, Annabeth, who I met at a writing workshop in New York. She does really great graphic design. And because the story's like twisted duo reality, I thought it would be cool to have like two forms of artwork for it. So the back is graphic and the front is illustrated. And then I formatted it all myself. Spencer Hamilton is my editor. He did an amazing job with edits. I met him through Bookstagram as well. It's just like great networking through there, because like it's an awesome team that the Bell Chime would not have been as beautifully done as it is if not for them. But then the formatting and all that other stuff was me. That was a fun pain. I like enjoyed it because you're working on your baby. So of course, like every second you get to spend with it, making it better
What'd you use for formatting?
I used Word. I downloaded the template off KDP.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah,
ouch. Have you recovered?
No, I mean, I'm dreading this next novel. Doing it for the next novel is going to be super fun because it's longer. So there's going to be a lot more.
Have you ever heard of Vellum?
I have. I might look into it. I'm like very, if I don't have to pay for something, I won't.
No, yeah.
Yeah, we're writers here. We're trying to make buck to begin with. I'm not too keen on spending the buck I make, but I actually it was a really frustrating process to format, but I like strangely enjoyed it. There was like this very masochistic side of me that was just like, I hate this so much, but I'm also like very much enjoying this pain.
Isn't that the entire process?
Yeah.
I mean, you're writing and formatting and, oh, is this cover good? And you get 3 or 4 covers and you can't choose. And then you throw it out there and somebody picks the wrong one.
Right.
It's like, no, I don't like that one. Thanks for your opinion though.
Yeah. That's why I'm so happy that like my team members that are like helping me are also like my very good friends, because then that way, like with Andy, we went through like so many different ideas and I felt comfortable being like, okay, I think we should switch gears with this idea. I don't necessarily like this. And with Spencer, I was able to go back and forth and ask him about his edits. And it was just like, it's very great to have such a like fluidly communicative team that you can like discuss those things with, because writing a book is hard to begin with, and you want to like make sure you have like control basically on all the ins and outs, or at least an understanding for why things are happening. So
right,
that communication is very important.
I'm just I'm looking at the back of your book right now, and it is stunning. It is actually really cool. So if anybody that's listening to this wants to stop and take a look at what we're talking about, yeah, you certainly can. But if you go to moralityandhorror.com, it's right on the top of the page, and it's like a news article that's been ripped, and it's got a picture of Mona. I was almost said Moana. That's just because I have a 3-year-old. They've been
I
watching.
actually get that a lot.
Yeah. Hey, Moana.
Yeah.
I actually was talking to her, and she we were just sitting there. I said, "Yeah, I'm going to be." I said I'm going to be interviewing Mona. Just talking to her, whatever this morning. She says, "Moana." So, I was a little upset that she stuck that in my head, so of course that comes up. But yeah. But anyway, back to this. It's one of those things again where I look at it, it's like, God, that was a great idea. I wish I would have thought of that. Huh.
Yeah, that back cover was Annabeth's idea. I told her I wanted her to do the back cover. I was like, I kind of want maybe some semblance of like something missing postery that we can work with. And she was like, okay, how about this? And I was like, that's perfect. Wow. She knocked it out like first try. I was like, that's great. We're going with that.
Yeah, no, that's really and if please contact local authorities.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. You even have a clothing line for your book.
I do. I'm wearing the shirt. Figured I'd rep it. It's that part of it's like more fun for me. I just like having the shirt so it feels like more of my own brand and it's like in existence. It makes it a little bit more tangible. And then the back, I don't know if I can properly show the back, but can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. So Andy designed it. It's like, she just does really cool artwork. So I wanted to put something on it and it says, "Can you hear the bell chime?" Yeah, it's more so like, if you really like the story, you can buy it. If not, that's fine. It's for me to enjoy, but yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So besides the novella, do you write short stories then too? Or do you, what do you do?
I started actually my like writing career through Wattpad. So I made an Instagram, I did the book reviews, and then I was like, okay, I need to give people a reason to like my writing. So let me do short stories and post them on Wattpad. Mm-hmm. And then people can check it out from there, decide if they like my writing style, whatnot. And then that way, hopefully they'll want to invest in the book in the future. So I started off like that. And then Andy reached out to me asking me if I wanted to write a story for her podcast that was upcoming. And I was like, for sure. So now I don't do as much the Wattpad stuff because primarily my time is taken up now with Unbearable Scares editing and short story writing. So I do still write short stories, but now it's more so for that podcast, which the stories are free as well. It's just a different medium.
Cool. Let's talk about your Instagram page for just a minute. Okay. So you've got like 7,800 followers. You are a nano influencer all over the place. The one thing that when I talk to a lot of authors, they're like, "Oh my God, I have to build up my social media." And it seems like a lot of work for them. But if you go to Mortality and Horror in Instagram, and look at what she posts, you're in the room. Yes. Sorry. It's all of her book reviews and it's, pictures of bookstores and of course pictures of her book and everything else, but it's all very, I don't even know how many posts you have. I suppose I could look.
I think it's like 150 or something.
150 or whatever, but 154 posts. Yeah. And it's one of those things that, how long did it take you to build up that following?
I've been on Instagram for like 2 years now, okay. I want to say. So about 2 years. Yeah.
So what's your secret? Come on, share with everybody.
It's so funny. I get this question all the time in my DMs. And I think it's really like so for me, like my Instagram is what I want to talk about while like maintaining aesthetic pleasure. So like the book pictures, like I'll try to make them look as pretty as I can. Honestly, I'm also not gonna like stress myself into having these like very gorgeous Bookstagram pictures because there's so many accounts that do that anyways. And as much as I wish I had the artistic and photography ability to be able to do that, I don't, so I'm not gonna stress out over it. So I do like my own version of it. Sure. So I try to make like my posts as pretty as possible. I've recently started like editing my photos with my book pictures where it's me in it to like have cool eyes or whatnot. It's something that I learned how to do recently and I think it's fun. It's like a fun additive, but I first of all, like, so that you don't get burnout, make sure you keep like the posting and what the content is to something that you enjoy and is feasible for you, because if Instagram ends up becoming a chore, like you're gonna just be thinking about like, oh, this is what I have to do next, rather than, oh, I'm enjoying this and that's going to show through. And then people are going to be drawn to that, hence the following. So it's stuff that's like easy, simple, looks fun for me. I'm super engaging with like everyone that I can be. I think engagement's like one of the biggest things, because on Instagram, the way the algorithm works is really, if you're not going out there and like liking or commenting or talking to people, like no one's going to know that you exist to begin with to follow you. Yeah. So just making sure that you're super engaging. I recently, when I first started Instagram, I wasn't very big into the stories. I was like nervous to talk on stories and like show my face and whatnot, but I kind of got over that little by little, and now I'm like very comfortable with it. People really like I did a nano post like 2 days ago or whatever, that I was on my story just talking about how people shouldn't be stressing themselves out, and I got a lot of people messaging me from that saying like, thank you for this, because I basically, what I had said was, I haven't written today either, like shit happens, so don't stress yourself out, like it happens to anyone, and I'm a very productive person, so like, you know, if you take it from anyone, take it from me, that like even the best fall down sometimes, basically. And a lot of people like DM me being like, thank you, that was like very needed, because I was on the same path. So I think like being engaging, being authentic are very important methods to gain a following on there, a good following, like an authentic following.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, that's one of the things I like about your page, is like, you know, I try and look at your at least look at your posts, you know, as much as I can. Every now and then it's like, oh, I haven't heard from her in a while, let's see what she's doing. Oh, cool, you know. But my limited time on social media, I started limiting it about 9 months ago.
Yeah, that's fair.
I had stuff to do. But this would be one of them. But anyway, complete brain just done. You know. So, how many words a day do you write, or do you try and write? Do you set yourself goals, or I mean, just on a normal day, not during the wacky month of November?
Right. Okay, I know that like Stephen King writes like 2,000 words a day. I think like V.E. Schwab sometimes doesn't write for like 10 days, she was saying. I am of the mindset of, this is going to sound bad because I know like as a writer, you should be practicing every day, but I just don't. I like get into story modes where like, if I have to write a short story, or if I have an idea, I'll write like 1,000 to 1,500 words a day to get the idea out. And I do write enough short stories to kind of keep that practice part in, but I don't write every day. But when I do write, it's like 1,000, I'll set a goal for like 1,000 words every day until the story gets out.
Sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So the short stories that you read on your podcast that you have, are those written by you, or do you pick them up?
They're written by both of us. So Andy is the one that narrates the podcast. She does an excellent job with her narration. She's very like good with the vocals and, you know, inflection and whatnot. They're shared between us. So she'll do one and then I'll do the next one and then she'll do one. Sometimes I think there's double of hers because I get extremely busy. So sometimes I can't get her a story out. But yeah, they're shared amongst us.
Yeah. I looked at you have a YouTube channel that looks like you just started up a little bit ago.
Oh yeah, that's an old one. That's unrelated.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm on there. I was like playing horror video games and recording it for like fun. Yeah, I just and then it was like it's kind of hard to because I like video games and I was like,
What do you play for video games?
I think I had like Outlast and there was like I played a bunch of like indie horror games. So there was one called like Mannequin that was really creepy, Slenderman, stuff like that. And I love horror, but I'm very jumpy as a person. So I thought it'd be funny for like people to see me trying to play these horror games and then like how freaked out I get because I'm not like one of those people that can be like, oh yes, a ghost like chasing me. It's fine. I'm like I'll scream. Like it's I'm not immune to fear. So
that's kind of funny. You rate horror, but you're kind of jumpy, huh?
Yeah, extremely. I write horror, but I'm terrified of it. It's great. I love it. I think I just have like I was saying before, like this masochistic quality. Like I just love the feeling of being afraid. I don't know.
Well, that's cool. So what do you do for a living?
I'm a marketing manager at a food service account. So yeah, it's fun. It pays the bills.
Pays the bills, but it also gets you, I mean, you know how to at least, you know, when you're in books, you understand what those marketing concepts are.
Yeah, right. In college, I was a marketing psychology graduate. So it's fun because the psychology aspect helps me with the stories itself. Mm-hmm. And the marketing aspect helps me sell the stories. So that was like, when I was in college, I didn't know I wanted to take the writing to like such a career degree. But so I didn't pick that major minor because of it, but it just worked out. Yeah.
Cool. So marketer extraordinaire, author. What else do you do?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, like my life is consumed by writing, reading, and like marketing. I'm trying to think. I mean, I live in New York, so I try to like go and walk around and be on hikes and whatnot.
How are things in New York right now? All right.
Yeah, they're good. It's pretty dead here. It's picking up a little bit more in terms of just like population of people on the streets, but it's still quite dead.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's kind of I enjoy it as a New Yorker. I'm enjoying this piece. Yeah.
So businesses closed down and stuff like that, or is everything pretty much open?
Pretty much open. I think it's to like a certain capacity. So like for dining in, it's 25%. People can be in restaurants now. Yeah. Most stores are open, but like I said, because there's not so many people on the street, it's not so crowded that they have to like manage these stores and make sure there's not too many people influxing the stores.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What's going on in the background there?
It's my roommates. Sorry, I'm trying to tell them to be quiet.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, my bad.
No, that's all right.
It's fun New York living. I live with 3 other girls. Yeah.
Yeah, I live with 3 girls too.
Right.
They're never quiet.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But you know, one's 7 months old, one's 3 years old, and the other one's 20. And then
oh wow.
4 girls, my wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 4. She's quiet though. Everybody else is just nuts. That's
an insane like age disparity.
Oh, you have no idea. I all the same wife.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like there's a divorce or anything like that.
Right.
I have a 30-year-old, I have a 20-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, and I have a 7-month-old. I think we're done.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, but it does it does interfere with the writing and everything else I try and do at times. But you know, it's kind of a good thing to.
Yeah.
It's a good reason to quit writing it for a while.
Right.
To play with a kid or something like that. It kind of refreshes me.
Right. Yeah. It's like that break, that needed brain reset.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, I say so a lot. Oh, let's switch into another. What's the worst book you ever read?
The worst book I've ever read.
Story.
The worst, oh my gosh. Honestly, and I feel like a lot of people are going to shade me for this, I think Salem's Lot is the worst story I've ever read.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I think, and like spoilers for anyone that
It's
might
been
read
out for
Salem.
so long, you can't spoil it.
I know, I don't know, maybe some people are new into like the King scene, or I mean horror is like now becoming, I feel like, more like bigger in the world, so maybe people are just getting into the horror scene and reading King. But so yeah, spoilers. I just think it was like a very poor portrayal of like a badass vampire that lasted for like 2 seconds. There was like no satisfaction or relief in the whole thing. It was like 600 pages of mush. I don't know, I felt really disappointed. I think because I was the most disappointed. It's not that the story itself was necessarily like awful. I had the most hopes for it because I was like, King writing a vampire story, and vampires are my favorite. So
Right.
I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And then I got nothing. I got like 10 minutes of vampire that got like stabbed and died. Like it's just that, like that. I don't know. It didn't resonate with me. So I just got annoyed. I have like a super long review for that one too on my Bookstagram where I was just like, spoilers, I'm about to rant. So yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny. I read that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And
I mean, yeah, probably being a kid it'd be scary, but like being an adult and expecting so much, I was just like, what did I just read?
I haven't read it. I mean, I haven't seen that book in 20 years. I think I have it down in my basement, to be honest with you. It's not even on my shelf.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I read that as a kid, I'm just like, you know, I mean, it scared the crap out of me. That's funny.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm more jittery than you are.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't take much to like scare me, but I don't get scared from reading books necessarily. So I expect like more degree of like gruesomeness and like more satisfaction and justification of things. I don't know. It didn't have any of that for me.
Well, you know, what I see trending in horror is they're kind of going more towards the psychological thrillers, or at least the thriller side of it, than the actual, you know, the old fashioned horror that you see. You know, I don't know too many people that write traditional horror anymore. It's always got a psychological aspect to it, and it's always usually marketed under either a cult or a thriller.
Right. I think thriller is like probably the way most people go, just because in like the trade publishing world, like thriller is a huge category and it's like it's a cash cow basically. So for the most part, people will be like, oh, I'm a horror writer, but it's like more on the thriller side because that's like what you can market it as to like make the big bucks. But that's why I like the indie community so much, because I feel like there's some like very good authentic horror stories that are like the traditional horror that you have, or have their own like twists and turns to it. So I don't know. I think indie horror is like, I've been watching it grow as like a community in general, and I'm very like pleased to see that.
I think indie in general is growing, and I think trad publishing is going to have a problem because they're only doing, you know, nonfiction basically and cookbooks, and that seems to be their mainstay. And then unless you have a huge name, they aren't letting anybody else in really, unless you want to pay them money to do what you can do on your own. So I think indie authors, for the most part, it's a good start, you know, if you do want to get into traditional publishing. But I don't see traditional publishing lasting all that much, you know, 5 years, 6 years in the form that it is now.
I think like online booksellers like Amazon and whatnot changed that a lot for people, because it used to be like traditional is helpful for obviously like the marketing backing, and then, you know, you go to a Barnes and that what you see on the bookshelf is how you find out about your books and like buy them. Whereas now you can go on Amazon and be like, okay, here's the bestseller in the thriller category, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a traditional book. Now there's like indie authors that are hitting #1 slots in these huge categories, and they're the ones that are getting noticed, which is incredible. And not to like say that I would want the downfall of traditional publishing to ever happen, because I don't. I just think that like strengthening indie writing, because the problem is that there's so many voices out there that just don't fit the mold that traditional writing is looking for. And it's unfortunate because there's still a huge population of people that want those distinct voices that might not be able to sell to traditional publishing. So I think it's great that indie publishing is becoming so big and allowing a medium for those authors to speak on.
The nice thing about being an indie author is there's no rules.
Yeah.
Realistically. So when you go and you try and you stand out your query letters for either an agent or a publisher, they want to put you in a box. They want to make sure that you firmly sit in this genre. And unless you're Stephen King or Patterson, they can tell them, no, we're going to do it my way. Little old us as indie writers is never going to tell them what to do. And if they find one chapter that doesn't fit within that genre, they're like, nah, we can't do this.
Yeah.
Whereas indie authors, you could flirt with 6 or 7 different genres, and if it's popular enough, you'll make up your own.
Yeah. Like, I mean, look at the Bell Chime. You read the foreword and the first chapter. Like, that's a structure that I would have never been able to sell to a traditional publisher.
Exactly.
It would have been disjointed. It would have been et cetera, et cetera. No one cares to hear like your personal voice. You can't sell like this, blah, blah, blah. But like, I mean, I got a lot of sales and I got a lot of people messaging me, like saying some very genuine, nice things about like how my book affected them. And it did resonate with people. It was a rule that I broke, that it's very like disjointed. I have like an unreliable narrator, very like lemony snicket kind of thing that goes over it. Once again, would not have sold traditionally, but it's still like resonated very well with the people that did end up buying it. So that's what's great about indie publishing, is I was able to do something weird like that.
Well, I was talking to Kat Rambo. Do you know who she is?
No.
Okay, she's been an author for a long time. Mm-hmm. And she's traditionally published. She's got like 203 between 250 and 300 short stories out there that are published. She's got 30 some books, I think, that are published, traditionally published, and then she's got her own books that she indie publishes. Mm-hmm. And so she'll go out and she'll try and sell a book, and if the publisher doesn't like it, what they basically do is she goes, okay, I'm going to publish it anyway, and then she goes and she publishes it on indie because she can do whatever she wants. And as long as she's not under contract and watches that, she basically is a hybrid of both.
Yeah,
I found that very liberating for her art form. She's sci-fi.
Okay. Oh yeah, and I'm sure like sci-fi, there's some like wacky ideas that she has that are excellent, but just like you can't. Right. The traditional is just looking for a very specific thing that they can sell to a general audience, and I feel like for the most part they don't get it right, like necessarily what could and could not resonate. So I think that it's great that there's like such a large indie platform to get those stories, like your friend, to get them out regardless of what a traditional publisher says.
Well, I think like Star Wars, nobody wanted that.
Yeah.
Now it'd be like, just like Star Wars,
Yeah. I mean, like even Andy Weir's The Martian, that was originally self-published, and then so many people bought into it and were like, this is excellent, that a traditional publisher came along and was like, oh wait, actually we want that. So like, excuse
me,
sorry, we messed up, can you I don't know. I mean, I
don't know. So what else? You've got this new book that you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
How far along are you?
I'm like about done. I have beta readers going through it now, and then I'm hoping to get it to my editor come December, and then I would like it to be released February 14th.
Wow, a Valentine's Day massacre type thing, or what?
It's the story is kind of, it's fantastical. It's a little bit like dark fantasy horror, but it strays along the lines of like possession versus unconditional love. So it's kind of a joke on that, hence the Valentine's release. It's just like, it's like a sick love story that isn't a love story.
A sick love story that's not a love story. Okay. I'm intrigued.
But not like a romantic, like boy-girl fall in love sort of way. It's a relationship between a father and a daughter.
So it's not The Notebook.
No.
Oh.
No, I don't. No.
I think you have a blurb on your website I was reading about there someplace you had some sort of not kind of what you're writing or something like that. I can't remember where that was at, but I read something about it.
For my novel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I try to like market things ahead of time. I'm sure you've seen it in like different crevices of my Instagram and whatnot. But yeah, it's essentially, it's a girl who is raised in a concrete room, and she's been told stories to make her fear anything outside of that room.
Mm-hmm.
And then she grows up like that without any exposure into the outside world until one day she's kicked out and she has to face what she's been fearing by herself, for mysterious reasons. It's a hard book to pitch because there's a lot I don't want the reader to know going into it.
Oh, sure.
So it's very difficult to pitch secrecy. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what the book blurb is for.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think I communicate enough about it on like Instagram to my audience that hope like people will still want to hopefully buy it, even though I don't reveal too much.
So I know you're on Instagram. Are you on any other social media?
Yeah, I have a Twitter. It's Morality N Horror because in made it too many words that I couldn't make it my handle. But yeah, it's Morality N Horror on Twitter, and I kind of just like rant on there. There's not much substance. That's more of like word vomit resource for me. That's about it though. I try to keep it simple because I feel like between writing and book reviews, and like I also edit for indie authors sometimes, and I edit for the podcast. I don't have a lot of time to be like cross-platform. And regardless, like Instagram's my favorite medium, so I stick to that. And I'm just trying to figure out Twitter. It's kind of hard because each one I feel like calls for such a different type of content, whereas I'm always geared towards like Instagram type content. So I don't know, I'd like to get a little bit bigger on Twitter. I'm like playing around with it and figuring out what does not work. But primarily it's Instagram, Twitter, and then like there's my website, Morality and Horror.
Yeah. The only reason I do Twitter is because I do this podcast and I post the links. So other authors that are on Twitter can grab it and retweet it or do whatever they want or whatever. Other than that, I really don't have a whole lot of Twitter. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. That's it.
Yeah. Twitter's like a weird world too. It's like trying to balance like the toxicity between like actually effective communicating with people. It's difficult. But yeah.
That's actually a nice way of putting it. It is, I don't know. Twitter, I find just to be so busy, and then I don't, you sit there and the way it jumps around in the feeds. Mm-hmm. So somebody replies, it's like, what the hell were they replying to? Because you don't see the chain.
Yeah.
Like Facebook or Instagram, you see, okay, this started here and it goes, and maybe that's my story brain. It's like, I want to see where this thing started because whoever, it's always somebody getting pissed off at the end. It's like, okay, how'd they get there?
Right.
Whereas Twitter, you just see, fuck you, John. And it's like, who the hell's John and where did he come from? But I'm not a real big fan of that medium, but I play with it a little bit. But you got a newsletter that you can go to, Mortality.
No worries.
Yeah, I think actually I mispronounced or misread your Instagram profile for probably about a year. Before I read it, it's like, it's morality. I kept that mortality and horror. I don't know what the hell that means, but she does cool book reviews. But,
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, it makes sense. Mortality and horror.
What's that?
I said it's a brain fart, but it makes sense because mortality and horror, like those, yeah.
I don't know. I read that wrong for so long, and now just kind of when we're talking about doing the podcast, it's stuck in my brain. It's like, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. Well, you know how that works. Hey, it's mortality and horror, and everybody going to the wrong website.
But yeah, morality and horror. I do have a newsletter on it. I don't send newsletters out. I think I post enough content on my Instagram for people to see. B, I don't know, maybe you read emails. I feel like I'm not going to put so much effort into something that people are going to delete regardless. It's more so I do want people to like sign up for the newsletter, because it's like, God forbid, like my Instagram got shut down or anything like that happened, I can like, I have a list of people to like still be able to communicate that are like interested in my work.
Yep.
I might start in the future when I have more time, and this would require basically me being able to quit my job to have this type of time, because I mean, time is so finite. I might do like a fun, I'll give you like a 500-word short story, and then like some just like general updates for like a newsletter or whatnot, like some horrific stuff. But yeah, as my time dictates now, I cannot. Yeah.
So back to YouTube, do you have any plans for that, or are you going to continue?
I would love to. Honestly, I don't know. I think there's so much like book content on YouTube, and it's great. I don't know if I could really add much more. I think if anything, it would be fun to like pick up, and this would be like completely on not writing related, more so just like self-brand marketing, but pick up the horror game YouTube videos again. I think would be funny. I think like enough people like me as an individual now, so it might be fun to show them like a fun side of me, like, hey, I buy her books and I'm a fan of her work, let's watch her like scream at a video game for an hour.
An hour of you screaming at a video game. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds cathartic as heck.
Well, you know, it's for the fans.
Yeah, and
Really
anything for the fans.
I suppose you could actually do you put those on your stories at all? No.
I don't. I mean, yeah, if I ever like get really back into it, I definitely would. But for the time, like once again with my time and whatnot, if I'm ever to be able to quit my job, there is like so much I will do, because I'll have the time to do it. And one of it would probably be to build up that YouTube thing. And I'm sure a lot of people would have fun watching me lose my shit.
Isn't that why we watch YouTube? Just to see somebody lose their shit?
Exactly.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Anything else you want to say, or to all your dying fans out there and
to all my undead ghouls?
Undead
Yes. Bell Chime on Amazon. Thank you, by the way, to all the people. If you're listening to this and you've been supporting me, it hit like 40 reviews on Amazon, which is like, doesn't sound like a lot, but kind of is a lot for indie writers, especially. I think it hit 40 yesterday. So thank you to anyone who has been supporting and
you should start seeing Amazon kind of kick you up a little bit there.
I know, that's what so I think once it hits like 50 reviews to 70, they start putting it in newsletter spotlights for people that are buying horror that's similar, which is great. I haven't really messed around with the Instagram like marketing tools that they have yet. I might for the next book. It's so much free work making a book from start to finish that like once it's out there, I'm just like, this is fine. I don't know. I'll get to it at some point. But yeah, so that was a really fun thing to wake up to see it hit 40 reviews. So yeah, thanks to everyone who's been following me for that. I can't wait for Vanilla to be released. That's the title of the novel. Yeah, and an Unbearable Scares podcast as well. Y'all should go follow on Instagram. Unbearable Scares is the handle. And then listen to Andy narrate stories that are terrifying that me and her write, meant to spook you out. Yeah.
So cool. All righty. With that, I want to thank you very much. It's been, actually a pleasure on my side just to finally meet you kind of face to face ish. Again, I'm one of your dying fans, so or undead ghouls, whatever. But I want to thank you very much for appearing on my show, and I also want to thank everybody else for listening to this. This is Jeff with the DIY Writer Podcast, and if you'd be so kind to follow me or subscribe to my YouTube channel, or look for this podcast on iTunes or Spotify or Stitcher. And it'd be really nice if you would help support this podcast. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Please subscribe. Every time you hit subscribe, an angel gets their wings. I really hate my job.